Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. I just think it's so cool in what she does. And once you realize it, once you experience it, it's so exciting, so insightful. I'm talking about somebody who is an animal communicator, can actually detect what your pet is thinking, what they're trying to communicate, and also sending that message back. Now, how does that, now we're talking about your pets, domesticated animals. What about animals in the wild? Can she or we communicate with them? I want to find out. Let's ask that question. Shirley Scott is back here on the program. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Steve. Thank you. How are you doing?
Really well. And I have to tell you, ever since we started doing these shows, I started practicing some of the things that you've shared on how to communicate with animals. And I started with my cats and my dog, and I've noticed that I am making a connection with them. But then I've started doing it in the wild, just being outside. Oh, there's a squirrel. Let me send something. What's the difference in that communication?
Well, we have to remember that the animals out in the wild are very leery of humans. So when you go to connect with them, you might get a message back. A lot of times I'll get a message back like, what? They kind of panic a little bit. And you have to be very much in the present and send them a message of very calm being. If you're kind of nervous or upset, they're going to be. And so we have to make sure that we are not in a stress or in a panic, because they'll feel it and they'll also smell it. And I tell people, don't ever try to get too close to a wild animal, ever, because that's why we call them wild animals. They can be upset and panic at the littlest noise or the smell or anything. So if you're going to communicate with a wild animal, you want to make sure that you are at a very safe distance, or that they are somehow, contained. Doing it at a zoo would be probably the safest thing to try, because the zoo animals are wild, yet they know humans. When you go out into the wild and talk to wild animals, most of the time they know humans as something scary and almost frightful or threatening to them. So they're not going to be as receptive in many cases as, a domesticated animal that knows humans. And it even takes with squirrels, you want to kind of feed them a little bit, or, kind of make friends with them a little bit, because we're big, scary giants to a lot of animals.
I've never thought of that. So reassuring them in your communication, and we've talked about this before, putting a message, putting a visual in there and sending it to them is one of the best ways to do that, right?
It is to start out. Yeah, you want to start out with just the feeling of love. I love you, I'm okay. Because even if you think about it, a squirrel, our hands can cover their head. And I tell people, how would you like it if you saw this hand coming at your head that was big enough to cover your head? You could be in a little bit of a panic. And so we want to send them love. I always send every animal I start with, I send them love, and I let them know I'm not threatening them, because they will get that very calm energy then. And then they can, you'll see it like in a squirrel. He'll turn around and look at you like, who are you and what are you doing? But that's the type of energy. But domesticated, you want to do that too. But they're used to humans, and they're used to a lot of the things that are going on around them in the house, or, the smells and everything else. But wild animals are wild. And, somebody asked me one time at a workshop, and this guy said, what would you do if you ran into, a bear in the woods? And I said, well, I'd run. I'm not going to stick around, because just because I'm trying to communicate with him does not mean he's not going to attack. That doesn't mean that at all. So you really have to be very aware that wild animals, even if they look like they are listening to you, they could attack at any moment.
I've tried this, and I'm driving down the road, daughter in the car, And I've told her about, the putting the images in your head and sending it to an animal. And classic squirrel running across the street, they're going left and they're going right. And you never know whether you can continue, whether you can stop. And then there's traffic coming the other way. So I did that. I sent a message to the squirrel, over to the side of the road and go now. You will be safe. And I just pushed it in my mind. And sure enough, out of nowhere, turned around, over to the side and done. And stopped doing the squirrel stopped doing the left and right thing.
Yeah.
So to me, that was a test of, well, this actually works in the wild here.
It does. And squirrels, it works with really well. Squirrels are great. Crows are great. You can't really talk to a rattlesnake or because there's predators and prey. And predators in the wild are harder to talk to than prey animals. Like bunnies will stop and kind of listen to you. They'll watch you because, bunnies can be eaten by anything. So they're very on guard. But when you have a predator, they are already in a survival and alpha role, and so they're a little harder to convince or communicate with. I've communicated with yellow jackets because I'm highly allergic to them.
Oh, wow.
But they will, if you don't show fear, then they will back down from you. But you have to just start out with, I'm not going to hurt you, I'm not a predator, I'm going to be okay, or you're going to be okay. And they can actually feel that, but you have to look and see, are they predator or are they prey? And then you have to really look at it from their point of view. How are they looking at this big, scary human that's standing there? So wild animals are a little different take on it, and you will not always get things from them. You won't. They may decide that they're not going to talk to you.
I know it's kind of crazy, but I didn't even think of insects. So, what a great idea. Wow. What can somebody do to test this? If they're just hanging out outside, could they, what, like we're just giving some examples, but can somebody just see a bird, throw a message to the bird?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have my clients do it all the time. When you see a bird and just, send it a message, look at it, send a message in your mind that you love it, it's safe, and watch what happens because, like blue jays, they'll stop and they'll tilt their head and look at you, and they know what you're sending this message, that it's okay, you're safe, I'm not going to come after you. And those to wild animals is what we have to send them first to get them more relaxed. We don't always have to do that with a domesticated animal, but with wild, they have to feel safe. And if they don't feel safe, they're going to run or attack, one or the other. And if they're, if they're a prey, they're probably going to run. If they're a predator, they're probably going to attack. So you have to really kind of set this basis and send them this thought of love and this energy of relaxation and love, and I'm not going to come get you.
So reassurance is key here. Mm-hmm. In the type of way that you communicate, is it, aside from sending the safety signal to the wild animal or insect, is it different in any other way?
Not really. You have to think it and really think about your message because, humans automatically will send pictures. We automatically do. It's built into us. We've had it since we were in the caves, But when we think something, we are automatically sending a message, a picture. And animals will get that picture and that energy long before they would ever get any words we could ever say to them to make them understand. So it's really important to concentrate on the energy and the picture that you're sending them of what you want them to do. And I think we talked about this last time. You don't send them pictures of what you don't want them to do. You send them pictures of what you want them to do. So if you have encountered a wild animal, you want to send them this calming message. You also need to watch their body language because, a wild animal will tell you when you're too close. They'll pin their ears back or they'll snort or they'll, stomp the ground, or, a tail twitch, or they'll make some sort of body language and then sound. It's usually that way. It's the body language first and then the sound, because that's how they survive in the wild. So they're going to watch your body language, and you need to watch theirs, because that's going to tell you exactly what they're going to do. Dogs will watch our faces, because in the pack they have to watch the faces, and a dog can see our pupils dilate with just a tiny, tiny bit, and they will know if we're upset or, happy or whatever, just by the dilation of our eyes and by the muscles around our eyes, because that's what they have to do in the wild. So any wild animal is going to do the same thing in their setting, so that when they look at your body language, they want it to match what the picture and the energy you're putting out. If you're putting out love and relaxation and you're okay, and you're thinking, I'm going to kill you, your energy is going to be way off balance to them, and they're going to know it. And then you're going to be a threat. I tell hunters always say to me, why, when I go out deer hunting for bucks, do I only find doe? And I tell them, because, there's, 1,000 hunters out there picturing the bucks with horns, and they're killing them. They're picturing that. They're seeing that happen. And so the bucks are getting it, and they're going to disappear.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. What for you, Shirley? What was the most? Well, let's center on the wild animals. What's the most interesting message you have sent, and then saw validation that it was correct?
Wow. Oh, that's a hard one, because there's so many wild animals I've talked to. I talked to an alligator once, and it was kind of hard to get through to him, because he was looking at me like I was, next meal. But I told him that I wasn't there to hurt him. And I watched his tail, because their tail will move a little bit, and if it starts flipping pretty hard, you better get out of the way. And I was at a safe distance, but after about, I'm going to say 5 or 7 minutes, I could see him start to relax, and his eyes even did this kind of softening, and he did turn around and walk away from me. I was like, okay, here we go, But that was really interesting, because an alligator is a reptile who is, thousands, millions of years old, and they have this instinct in them of attacking. And he was real interesting. He turned around and walked away from me. So, and I know that, people see him on the golf courses and stuff. And, if an alligator isn't really hungry, he's not going to come after you anyway. But this one was very much on the defense at the very first. And then he turned around and walked away from me.
Wow. And what's your feeling in that whole situation? Would you say that you're pretty confident that it was the message that you sent that made that happen?
I'm pretty sure. It is, because he was angry when he first was coming toward me. You could tell he was kind of on the hunt, and I just made sure that I was at a safe distance. But I started sending him messages, and he really did turn away from me. So I'm really kind of sure that's what happened. Yeah.
Wow.
And deer, I have deer in my property all over the place, and I can call them in just by going out and thinking that it's dinner time. I can call them by my voice. I sing to them and they come in. But I can also stand out there, and they'll come in, and after about 5 minutes of just me thinking, come on in and get your treats, guys. Your apples are here, your corn. And they will, 7, 8, 12 of them will show up, and they're not afraid of me. They will get within, just a few feet of me. But if somebody else is with me, they won't come in. You can see their heads pop up, but they look around. They won't come in if anybody else is with me.
Interesting. I am so looking forward to trying this.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. And birds and squirrels are probably, the best thing to start, practicing on. A lot of times I'll talk to dragonflies. Dragonflies will really get a message. And I have had them just come land on me because I've said, come over here and talk to me. And they are amazing creatures. I mean, they're intelligent and they do like to talk. So dragonflies will come and land on me when I ask them to. Yeah.
I'm going to start doing that. In the time that we have, other things that we should know when it comes to communicating?
Make sure that you're in the present moment and you're not thinking about anything else except that animal in front of you, because you're going to send them mixed messages every time. It's not like thinking about what you're going to do after you're done with the communication. You've got to think about the communication right now, or they get confused because you're sending them different ideas all at once, and they're like, what the hell? And that makes you feel very unbalanced to them because they live in that present moment and they're in that present thought, and they don't think about 5 minutes in the future. They don't think about that. They're right now. So it's very confusing to them if you can't stay in that present moment with them, even if it's for 30 seconds or a minute, just stay in that present and sending them the present message that you want to send them.
So it's all about the focus. Have supreme focus when you're in that situation.
Exactly, because they're focusing on you. Their focus is on you. They see a human. It's like, okay, and most wild animals feel very threatened by humans, whether they've had an experience like that or not, because it's not their natural world. The animal kingdom is not the natural world for a human. And so a human will put out fear right away, usually when they see a wild animal, or this really heavy excitement. And that excitement is also making a human look out of balance and out of place in that moment and in that kingdom. Yeah.
Gotcha. Wow, so exciting. Does this still excite you? You've been doing this for quite some time now. Does it still do it for you?
Oh, absolutely, every day. Every day. And, that's one of the reasons I live in the woods, because I learn so much by watching the animals, the insects, the wind and how they will, how animals react to the wind and the barometer change. And, like I say, my goat can tell you it's going to rain 20 minutes before it starts raining. But if you really watch them, you learn so much, and you can communicate with them, and they really get used to you communicating. When I get in my pickup to go to town, and if there's any deer around, I tell them, get out of the driveway, get away, before I ever get in the pickup. And when I get in the pickup, they're gone. They know. So it's a natural thing for me to communicate, and I love it. It never gets old. Never.
Wow. Yeah. I'm super excited, seriously, to be outside because, we're just hanging out. Oh, you know what? Another thing just popped in my head.
Mm-hmm.
How do you differentiate? So, for example, you have two birds. You want to send it to one. You're walking your dog, but you want to focus on either another dog or another animal. How do you make sure that it is, lasered in the right direction? Okay.
First of all, you want to make sure that you're looking in that direction and you're focusing on that one. I'm going to tell you, when you put out a message like this, it's out there for broadcast. It's like a radio wave. You can tap into it. Anybody can tap into it any time. That's how humans come up, somebody in Russia can come up with the same idea and somebody in the United States for an invention because it's out there. So somebody else might pick that up. But if you're focusing on that bird or that animal that's right in front of you, they're going to get it. Another one might get it, and they might respond to you because they're going to tap in. But the other one will get it too.
So is there something that you should be mindful of when you're doing this to make sure that it doesn't go to the wrong destination?
Kind of. If you focus in on one bird, your energy is going to be focused on that bird. And even if his buddy sitting in the tree next to him picks it up, he's going to know that you're focusing in on that bird. I've had talking to a bird and had another one come in and land on the deck and just, caught me. I'm talking about a crow here. And just rah, 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 rah. And I said, when I'm done talking to this other one, I'll talk to you. I turned to him, acknowledged him, and said, give me a minute. And I turned back to the other bird, and he was quiet for a minute. He got it. He got that I'm focusing on this guy over here. So I'll, because I turned my head and let him know that I would, I'd be back to him, but I was focusing. So they get that energy. Plus, in my mind, I had the picture of this other bird.
So when you say you picture the other bird, tell me how that went.
Well, okay, they were both crows, but I ignored the one that came and landed on the deck, and I told him I'd be back to him. And when I focused on the other one, and it's really funny because you can start telling little differences. And I focused on the other one and said, you are the one I'm talking to. I want your energy, and I want you. And so you really laser focus on them. That's what telepathy is all about. It's you're sending out this telephone wire, and you're focusing on them. And you will get their energy back because they're going to come back with that same energy. It's a matter of really focusing on that same bird.
I find it fascinating that other animals can pick up on your communication.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's how wild animals know when there is an injured animal or a sick animal, because that animal is putting those thoughts out. A lot of times an animal will want to just go someplace and get a predator to come to them and die. And they'll put out the pheromones and the message that I don't feel well, I'm sick. And then it's out there for everybody to tap into. We don't understand that our thoughts, when we think it's like, a radio. It's going out there, and anybody can tap into it. That's why I tell people, if you're thinking about Aunt Mary for 2 days, and all of a sudden she calls and she says, oh, I've been thinking about you, and you say, oh, I've been thinking about you. That's the connection that has already been made in the energy field. Sometimes it takes a couple of minutes, like with me, because I'm used to it and I know it's coming back. Sometimes it will take a couple of days because somebody just says, oh, yeah, somebody's thinking about me, but, they kind of pass it off and ignore it.
Mm.
So our thoughts are really powerful energy beams, very powerful, they're more powerful than our spoken word, actually.
Well, it's almost the same kind of thing when somebody says, I'm thinking about you, wishing you well for your surgery, that kind of thing. You're sending energy. You're sending positive energy. And a lot of times the procedure turns out great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's the same thing. The energy that we send out is so important because somewhere it's going to hit somebody, and I truly believe in karma. So if you send out good energy to somebody, that's positive karma. If your intent is to harm somebody, look out, because it will come back to you. And you have to remember that when our energy goes out, it will hit the person we're thinking about, and then they will in some way feel our energy, and it will get bounced back to us. So there is an exchange of that in the energy field at all times.
For sure. And I've always remembered when you're calling somebody out, like, you're pointing a finger at somebody, what's pointing at you? 3 fingers. You're pointing one at them, 3 are pointing at you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
How do we find you? If somebody would like some insight on how to do this better, or even just have you do it for them, how do they connect with you?
Sure. They can go to my website. It's shirley-scott.com. There's a hyphen between my first and last name, so it's shirley-scott.com. And there's our podcast, Steve, that's on there, our past ones. There is all sorts of information. There is a contact page that they can email me, and it's easier to email me than try to call me, actually, because I'm on the phone. We do not have call waiting here. I live way out in the country, so all you'll get is just ringing and ringing if I'm on the phone. So it's easier to email me, and I will get back to you usually the same day. I try to do that because I know all my clients have important issues when it comes to their animals. So just go to shirley-scott.com, and it's all there.
Awesome. Shirley, always great talking with you. So insightful, so interesting, and seemingly so easy. Give it a try. like, why not?
Give it a try. Yeah, give it. You got to practice it. I tell everybody it's like anything else. If you want to play the violin, you got to practice, or the piano, or you got to practice it every day. And it's great to learn this. It's great.
Thanks for being here today.
Okay, thanks, Steve.
Appreciate it. We'll be right back. Have you ever wondered what your pet is thinking? Have you ever wanted to tell them something? Do you want to know what is going on in their world? Shirley Scott can help you talk to your animals. As an animal communicator with over 20 years of experience, she knows the questions to ask. She gets the answer right from the animal without letting her human emotions or judgments get in the way. Shirley can help you understand what your pet is trying to tell you. She can help with behavior issues, health problems, and other communication that might help the pet's human understand them better. Her books range from how to deal with ghosts and demons, how to talk to disembodied spirits, a workbook on how to become more positive so you can live a better life, a new children's book written from her goat's point of view, and even an animal communication CD. All of these and more are available on her website. Find out more about Shirley by going to her website at shirley-scott.com. or email her at scott@shirley-scott.com. You'll find that Shirley is friendly, honest, and comes from a positive point of view. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.